Welcome back to Community Challenge, and big thank you to our players for signing up. Pretty much on the spot. I was going to say tonight, but this afternoon we're basing it out of Europe. So we've got Optimal Acorn here, and the Blue Trunks as the all-new Indian civilization. They look really, really good. Turn that stuff off for a sec. He's here in the Blue Trunks, coming back off a 4-year hiatus. He's played a couple of games in the past few weeks. Played a little bit, acclimatized somewhat. Today he's up against our Red Trunks Egyptians player in Rotten. So a lot of you would have known him as Lebo. He's played for a long time, on and off over the years. So both these guys would actually be pretty used to the high gather rates that we've got once again. So this is the original gather rate, and this was taken away for a little while. It was reduced by 20% for all resources, and you'd never really be able to get that back because it wasn't, say, added back on through eco text or anything. And it was designed to slow the pace of the game down. So now it's back to crackhead AoEO, and it's great. And these guys will be hella used to it. So we're seeing double storehouse, triple storehouse starts rather than an early barracks. Because nowadays you can age up of 11 villages and get your second town centre before you even need your first house. Although sometimes civs like Egypt or Babylon, because you're getting villages while you're aging up, you can also sort of get just one of them, just to make sure you're not going to spend any time pop capped while you're finishing the second town centre. On really big maps, this sort of style is a no-brainer, considering how quickly you can age up and you can get the spears out. In fact, spear rushing at this gather rate used to be a little bit easier actually, because your initial spearman train time was a little bit quicker while the conditioning upgrade was weaker, but during the slowed down ecos, because you spent so much longer in age 1, we could train more spears and fight more, so spear rushing got a bit too strong. So a way to counteract that, and Optimal's aged up yet. Lebo, not far off. A way to counteract that was to basically reduce the train time, give it all back to them once you get conditioning, once you're in age 2. So that hasn't actually been reversed at this stage. So I think Spear Rush is kind of weaker than ever, in my opinion. And maps like Oasis, you're definitely still worth doing it. The thing is, there's not a lot of maps that are actually like Oasis. Most of them have a rush distance comparable to this map. Slightly lower, this is probably slightly above average. But the spawns on this map are hella predictable. Maps like Ghost Lake, they're kind of nice because the starting spawns aren't quite as predictable as maps like Mountain Crossing or, well, Wildwoods or that sort of thing. Oasis is also a bit up in the air sometimes. Generally, if there's like a central, if there's like a central map feature, usually the map's got pretty inconsistent player spawns. Like I can spawn, you know, across different sides of the map, variants, and you know, both big variants in both axes on their spawn, whereas it doesn't really happen on Wildwoods and on some of the other maps. Sheltered Pass can be a bit weird too, depending on how the pass spawns. So both our players just going straight to age 2, getting second town center. Like this storehouse, this town center placement. There's a lot of resources here. This is good as well. Double food, rather than having food, stone, and gold there. Protects that as well. So we've got Indians from Optimal, we've got Egyptians from Rotten. So one of the original 2 civilizations up against the newest civilization. I gotta say, it's really, really pretty. I just love their architecture. How it was designed by the devs. So the range on the way behind a barracks. A stable's opening here for Lebo, so he hasn't actually started on any other production at this stage. Banking quite a bit of food. Village accounts in favor of Rotten by 3 villages, which kind of makes sense because of the age up. Meaning that Rotten squeezes out 3 villages while Optimal is busy taking the age up. But spam production followed up with the bowman. This would be really handy against the camels. Like, they can't get to the bowman without getting attacked by the spears. The bowman can actually get hits on the camels when the spears, you know, can't reach them because they're disengaging. So it's a really nice combo until Rotten can get some slingers out and some axemen, because he needs to be able to counter these guys. I mean, these would be nice if you can do some hit and runs. But early on, defensively, camels are a little bit of a dump unit. Like, yes, they're a nice tank if your opponent, like, blindly goes for counter infantry, so you're not getting counter damage by having infantry. And then, you know, they've got an easier time getting to the bowman, they're not countered by the bowman. But against civs that can produce bowman units in H2, going for camels is a little bit of a risk to start with. You kind of want to let him bait you into making slingers, just because it then gives you an easier time to actually make the camels later on. You don't really want to be in this situation right now where the only unit you can really fight with here really mainly should be trying to hit and run. And then you can't tell if they've got spears at home unless you scout, and then if he does, well, that sort of dies in the water at the moment, because our players have both gone for greedy town centers. They're really well protected in terms of their coverage of resources, their villages. Rotten actually being forced off this hunt, but 38 villages to 35, so he didn't lose any vills there. Both players haven't had any hiccups in their vill production, so things looking really solid there on both ends. Optimal slightly ahead in terms of population, which must mean he's up in terms of army pop by a little bit here, because he's down by that vill pop by 2 still. And I think these next couple of fights might be decided by who gets upgrades first. Because Optimal was patient there, he knew Rotten, most of his vills are on the other side of these town centers, so it would have been hard to try and dive in there. Even with the camels, not a great fighting unit. They're a good tank against the counter infantry, but your opponent's mainly got, you know, spears and bows. It's quite tough. And I mean, Rotten can start producing axemen, which are going to be great now that there's a hell of a lot of spears. But Optimal really just needs to get a couple more bowmen, maybe add in some Garda warriors, and then just make sure he's not having them waste shots attacking camels with that giant health pool compared to everything else out in the field at the moment. Because the camels take up more pop as well, they're expensive. And they, like I said, they are a good tank, but per pop they're actually not that great. It's not as though they hit twice as hard or have twice the health, but they cost twice as much, and they take up twice the pop. So, you know, you are really paying for that mobility with camels, so you sort of need to be able to be a bit active, because now is probably a good time. Or basically once this fight ends, Rotten wants to make use of these camels. Optimal in the meanwhile doesn't want to throw away all the spears for that reason, because he can really help defend against the camels. But while they're over here, it does give Rotten some breathing room. So I mean, he probably could go for some harass. Optimal, I don't think he's gone for any stables just yet. Just mowing down some units. But Rotten's crept ahead in terms of population here, so he's done really well to mass. Optimal's overgathered a little bit of gold, maybe not getting the food or the wood he wants right now, because he could probably have had a stables or a armory on the way, or even another range or barracks. Keep these units going. He's not floating a lot of food or wood at all. But ideally he'd probably want to have another production building or two instead of all that gold banked up. Unless he's aging up to try and, you know, then get all of his champion techs. Rotten in the meanwhile, he's banking a little bit of wood here, which, I mean, I guess he could be going towards farms, because eventually these berries are going to run out and he's going to have to start playing really expansively to get on more food without making farms. So maybe he could be throwing down some production and some towers. But he might also want to get some more gold and food just so he can keep training. Although in saying that, he does have the pop lead at the moment. And Eco 58 to 56, so nothing's really changed there in terms of the lead. Rotten's now up in terms of military size and has that very slight eco advantage too. Getting a bit of vision, I like this. Not a big investment. It's definitely worth it. So Optimal trying to run here. Not doing much in the way of trying to like stutter step and get some shots off with these bowmen, because not as though there's really any ranged element to Rotten's army. But now that he's got himself a bit of space, he does turn and fight in amongst his own buildings. There's no real static defense here except for the town center. And the camels are a good tank against that. They've got the pierce armor, they've got a bit of health. And can Optimal hold on here? He's got a lot of food in the... Oh, he's got not a lot of food in the bank, and neither does Rotten. Populations are actually now really starting to favour Rotten, and he does push straight through that. So he's got his damage, melee damage through that. Optimal doesn't have any armory upgrades, so I think that small pop lead and that armory upgrade, the mass melee from Rotten is really putting a dent in Optimal at the moment. He's not raiding here, he's getting a bit of vision, but that's all. It's not really dealing any damage, relieving any pressure. Rotten, a lot of wood in the bank. He probably just needs to focus on gold and food at the moment so he can get his age 3. Although I think he thinks if he can stay at a high population like this and keep putting the pressure on Optimal, he's sort of got him in the crocodile roll at the moment. There's no way to really mass up and come back from this. As long as the pressure keeps on going, like he needs to get these guys into the fight, or perhaps not, considering how much he's got here. But these bowmen are starting to mass up again for Optimal. He's throwing down more production. 3 ranges he's trying to make right now. Camels running around the map. I don't know exactly what they're what he's trying to do with those, because he could do with them over here right now. Now there's a lot of bowmen. He might want to have a few camels to tank for his axemen, because he hasn't actually added any slingers yet. He hasn't gone age 3 to get chariots either, so he wants to be able to clean these up. And axemen not being champion as well aren't going to be great against bowman balls, because they don't have the area damage. They can't kill 2 or 3 units at a time. But Rotten, I don't know what he's doing with these camel riders. If you can get them in the fight, well, into the Optimal's base right now, get them on the food gatherers, he pretty much wins this game here and now. Optimal doing well to hang on, training everything he can. There's nothing in the bank. Perfect production for these villages and military units right now. Not overspending at any one thing, but has everything training all the time here. And is scraping the bottom of the barrel with these resources, but if these villages go down, this is going to upset his food eco, because he's being overrun on his farms here as well. And Rotten still streaming in units. He's back above 150 population. Optimal down under 90 at this point. So a few more gold gatherers getting slain there. Man, these guys need to unionize, these villages. Needs to be a few deaths on the job here. But this starting town center, well, is that the second? Yeah, the second town center there for Optimal. It's going to get destroyed here. There's no villagers left in it to repair it or anything. There's not really enough army to turn this around, so that falls. This has been a great push here from Rotten. He just sort of went, well, I've got the bigger army and I've got my melee damage upgrade for, you know, covering everything in it. I'm just going to go for it. Optimal right now hasn't really been able to stabilize and come back from this. I mean, he's got a few Garter Warriors here, but he's only 1 or 2 Spearmen in the mix there. Although Optimal's got a lot of wood, so Lebo would have been much better off just going for a couple of low villages here. Like, there's 24 health in between those two villages right now. If you had got those two, well, I mean, he's already up 24 villages, but Optimal is somehow still managing to train stuff here. Does need to throw up some more houses. He's doing so. Rotten's gone to age 3, so he'll be able to start chariot production. He is going to get some slingers in the mix too, just to thin out the bowman count. And he's got his combined armor upgrade. So the beauty of Egyptians, that armor upgrade covers both melee and range damage. So even though it's a bit more expensive, overall it is a saving. And you don't have to train 2 different upgrades, so Optimal hanging on somehow. He's still managing to gather quite well through all this, but GG. Rotten. It's just too much this game. So Eco's just starting to favour Optimal for a little bit there, because I think Rotten was pretty much maxing his army out at one point and just going for a massive push. And then he just seemed to be able to keep on sustaining it. Optimal lost quite a lot trying to turn that around. So it looks as though Rotten might have time for one more.